Okay, welcome back. So finally in this video, what I'm going to be doing is trying to install the X2Go server and then seeing if I can install the client on Windows 10 and then connect to the X2Go server. Okay, so first thing to do is you can go to if you go to my website and applications used, and then just click on the one that's there, which will be for installing the X2Go server. Right, so basically the first part happens on the CentOS machine. Right, so that's this one, so I'm already connected to it. Right, so we've already got the OpenVPN running. So the next thing that we now have to do is to install X2Go. So EPL release is already installed, but that's for just in case you're not running it with an OpenVPN server. So the next thing, we just have to install these applications. Okay, so that's done, and just make sure I've still got enough space. Yeah, that's plenty. Because we're going to be even though this machine is just running from the SSH and we're not going to be having a graphical login to the actual main machine itself, in order to run X2Go, you do actually need desktop applications installed on it. So the next thing we're going to do is just install those desktop applications. And because there's so many of them, this will take a little while. Of course, if you had already installed the workstation version, which you wouldn't have to do this, but this is just for if you want to do a minimal install, where the only things that get installed are actually just what's needed. So to run to run whatever is actually on that machine. It's not too bad, it's not even a gig. You can see that it wants to install Network Manager, but I'm not going to bother with that. Okay, so while that's installing, what I'm just going to do is just get the Windows 10 machine going. Right, so so first thing we have to do in here is just need a couple of things from Putty. I don't actually need alright, so what we can do then is if we go to the Putty website, and even though this is putty.org, it's not the actual website, this is just a site someone started. We had a bit of money and sort of bought the domain, because this is the real site, which is this funny name. This is where the officially Putty is. Right, so the only one we need is just need this SCP file. because what I want to do is I want to get that configuration from the from that 134. Okay, doesn't seem happening. Pi seems to work. Yeah, I presume it's because right, okay, yeah, so it doesn't actually have a GUI. You can only okay, so to make sure that we root. So okay, so we've got that client VPN file. Right, so what we now need to do is in order so that we can connect to that machine which is behind the firewall, what we then need to do is just get OpenVPN now. So just go to community and downloads, and you can just get the latest version. And just get this Windows 10 one. Okay, so that's installed. So now we just need to run it. Alright, so it needs a config file copying. So alright, so we copy that client file into OpenVPN config, or move it anyway. And so now let's see what happens. Okay, there you go. So it seems all you got to do, like the man says on the internet, just got to make sure the time is fixed on your. But that was a bit confusing because it says common name equals change view. I don't know why. I'm not sure. That kind of made it confusing what was going on. So yeah, so that's the important thing. Make sure the clock on your virtual machine is correct, and OpenVPN then should connect, and you get your nice green icon. Right. So now that OpenVPN's connected, so what we can do then is we should now be able to use PuTTY to SSH into that CentOS server, but at the moment that doesn't quite help us. So what I'm going to do is just go to the next stage of the operation. So if we go back to the right, so yeah, so we've installed everything that we've needed on here. Right, so the next thing we have to do is we just need to yeah, I'll have to remove that. So alright, so the next thing we have to do is now get the X2Go software. Right, so I'm just doing this just so I can get that link. Right, so we just download it here where it says X2Go client and then MSWin. See, it's quite big. Right, so when you run this, it won't have a publisher, will be unknown because they don't want to pay the thousands that you have to pay to Microsoft for a license, for a certificate, I mean, because it is free software after all. Of course, you don't have to actually agree to this because you're not redistributing it. So just do next and next, and then just install it. Okay, so that's finished. So now, in order to be able, or actually before that, one other thing that I forgot to make a note of. Okay, so one thing I forgot, I'll have to try and remember to put this in the, so basically I'm gonna have SSH running on the other machine on a different port. I'm gonna have it so that it's only listening for public key. So, alright, so if I run that, so now that will be running, and we can see so it's listening on port 4444. And what we can do is you can just check that. So if we well actually, first thing I have to do is just need to add that port forward into IP file. For red. That. Let's go into here, then it's TCP. Destination is alright, so that should. So if you apply that, so what will happen if we then go to see if I can find it. Right, so so if you try and SSH to SSH to there. Alright, I think what's happened is I think the firewall's getting in the way there. Just as a quick cheat. So it lets us connect, but then it just chucks us out saying permission denied, public key. So what we're going to do is have that as our actual external port on the firewall, but it only accepts public keys, so there's essentially no way for anyone else to log in unless they've got a key. So at the moment, the only ports we've got being forwarded by IP Fire is the OpenVPN and then the 444. But basically, there's no actual SSH port that you can actually log in on that's being forwarded at the moment. So what we then have to do on here is first thing we need to do is actually generate a key with putty. So right, so what happened is that the X2Go actually installed yes, so basically you've got here puttygen, which is a file that we actually need to generate an SSH key. So if you run that, and then basically just click on generate, and like it says, just move the mouse to speed it up. Yes, it slows down when you don't move the mouse, but when you move it, it speeds up. Right, and so now the safe thing usually you should do is to have a passphrase, and the reason for that is just in case your laptop gets stolen or someone breaks into your machine, and then they can get your key and then get into the main server. If you put a password on it, then that stops that. Now you might think that that's inconvenient, because now that means you have to type that password every time you connect, but there is a way around that. So what you do is so we have to save both the public and private keys. So save the public one. Public key, and then we save the private one as well, because you need both of them. Right, and so the other thing is that you see it has this this public key. So basically we need to somehow get that onto the other server. So basically we've got our we're connected via SSH to that machine inside, which is 10801. So that's where we're going to need putty now. So right, so what we're going to do is you need to connect to it. And so because we've opened up the VPN to it, the address is 10.8.0.1. And it's port 22, because this is like over the VPN. Say yes to that. So we're going to log in as oh, actually, yeah, that's something that I forgot. We need to go in as we need to create a non-root user. That's one thing I forgot. Alright, so we've got a user there now with a nice password. And so if you log in as user, right, so we're in. So what we need to do then is yeah, so we don't have a .ssh file, so we're going to need that. So the easiest way to do that is just try SSH somewhere. Just don't bother. So what happens? We now end up with a .ssh directory. So if you go in there and right, so Yeah, I suppose we're doing this kind of well, no, this is fine. So what you have to do is you have to create a file called authorized key. All right. Yeah, looks like I'm just gonna have to do it the hard way. So basically we've SSH'd in, and so we just have to create a file called authorized keys. Make sure it's spelled the American way. Yeah, so basically you got your authorized keys, and so into this file you basically, the output from the putty key generator, so you just copy everything, and you paste it in, and make sure that it's just one line and not two. So then if you write it out, and now here's the important bit, is you need to make sure the permissions, yeah, see what it is at the moment, that's basically not going to work, so you have to make sure to make it 600. See now, because obviously to do this you do have to be able to connect to the server sort of via SSH, but then you should have that. If they're letting you on the server, then usually SSH access is given to you by default anyway. So if they're going to let you have X2Go access, then you're definitely going to already have had SSH. All right, so that's the generated key. So I'll just leave that there for now. And so now the next thing that we have to do is to you have this program called Pageants, and what that is, that's like an agent which allows you to SSH to a machine without having, because you notice we put a password on the key in order so that we, just in case someone gets hold of it, that it's secure. So what you do is if you run Pageant, it runs as a service, so you get this little icon in the bottom, in the icons in the bottom right corner. If you right click on it and then go to, if you do view keys first, you notice there's nothing there, and then you've got the option to add key. So if you now just choose that key that you created, and what it'll do is it'll ask you for that password you typed, or that you set up, I should say. You put that in, and obviously the password works because it managed to load the key. And notice it's got the right fingerprint as well. So now if you close that, so basically Pageant is still there running in the background. So anyone that asks for that key, it will basically pass it on to them. So if you go into Putty now and just exit out of here, although just pin that first. Right, so now if you run Putty again, and now this time if we connect to the same place, but this time we connect to the 4444, and then in SSH we make sure that it's Oh yeah, I think it's auth. So make sure it's got here. The tick should be in by default where it says attempt authentication using Pagent or Pagent, whatever they're supposed to call it. And so now if we try to connect to that 444, and we go in as user, and if it worked, then we're straight in. And that's it. So basically, that shows you that that we've set things up right, and that key has worked, because notice we didn't have to type our password. And so if we exit out of that what that basically means is that we're now ready to run the X2Go, and we just have to use that the 444 port number, i.e. the one that doesn't require the one that only allows and actually, yeah, just to be sure, what we can do is just stop over VPN just to show that we are, yes, that's disconnected. Alright, so now if you run the X2Go client, and basically you present you with this this is one that we had on before. Alright, so basically what you start off with when you install it fresh, you'll start off with nothing in here. So if you click on the new session icon, and basically, so just call it whatever you want. Right, so the host is the red IP address. And the login, that's our username, and so that's user. And then SSH port is 4444. And see, it's got here an option, try auto login via SSH agent or default SSH key. So that's the one we want, because we've got Pagent running. So of course we could manually specify the key, but of course that would mean we'd have to type the password each time. So the easier thing is just let the Pagent do the work. And so the other thing, so we can just leave it, well, we can put it to a 1 since we're local. And so this is where we can specify the resolution, and I'll leave it, well, thing is, this is a bit small. Some things you find on the display will be a bit tiny, so yeah, so usually this resolution is about the minimum that you can. Before it used to be 1024 by 768, but that seems to be a bit small for nowadays. And if we disable sound, so we don't get this annoying message all the time. And so, yeah, so that's right, user 44. Okay, and the other thing is with CentOS 7, KDE isn't installed, so what's installed by default is GNOME, and so that's the one you should choose, just so that you don't get any errors or a blank like desktop. And so once that's ready, we can now it's the problem when you try and use a window that's a bit too small. To hide it because so once you're ready, just click OK. And so now to connect to it, you can just double click. And so it's just asking, because it's connecting directly in, so it just wants to see if you trust. So basically, you just verify it's the right IP, and just say yes. Alright, GNOME session. Okay, so I think what's happened is that yes, this is one problem you do have with okay, so what we can do is need to try and find a desktop. Yes, because basically when you go into the preferences, so you got choices here. So you could do XFC units. Let's see. It looks like it doesn't have that, so let's try XFCE then. Because it's just because it's Centos 7, so they've obviously changed the names of the so if it's Centos 6, that would have worked, the commands I did before, but when you're on Centos 7, you have to find out, or these, whichever desktop you want to actually run from that drop down list, you have to work out how to install it. Alright, so I think that should do it. I think it's the XF desktop is the one, that's the one that you need. So that should be enough. And here we go. So then we have XFCE running. It's running inside this looks a bit knackered because we don't have I think it's because we don't have the panel. I might have forgotten that. Yeah, but anyway, so that's the one thing you do have to watch out for, especially if you're installing it into CentOS 7, and that is basically because they've updated some things. You have to make sure that you've actually installed the right components. So I think Alright, okay, so this might do the job. Let's see what this does. Yeah, it looks like it loads installing there. That's almost a gig. alright, yeah, so this XFC is a little bit clunky. Right, so if you just wait for this to finish. And what I'll do is these commands, I'll hopefully I'll remember to add them to the descriptions, just so you can get like a working desktop setup. Because what's good about this is you can like run the applications over a low bandwidth connection, and the interactivity is actually quite good. Right, okay, so that's mate installed. So now if we just see what happens if we edit the session. So we change it to mate, and then we just try connecting with that. Just terminate that one. Just do a new one. And that's the good thing about this, is the way your sessions stay. They hang around, and you can like have multiple sessions from the same user. Right, so this looks a bit better. But it's a bit slow because yeah, we've only got one CPU. So that's one reason I suppose why I should have. Alright, and there you go, so nice looking desktop there. That's much better, isn't it? See, we got our menu there, and you see it's, well, the response is going to be good, obviously. But what I need to do is set up, I don't know, something like a DigitalOcean droplet or something. Or even just have like a Raspberry Pi in a different location or something, and then try to set this up on it and see what the performance is like. So that would be interesting. But basically, there you go. So this is like you have your normal sort of X desktop sort of running inside Windows through X2Go, and the connection is seamless because obviously we got Pageant running in order to handle the logins, and as long as you make sure to kill Pageant before you leave your machine, or you have to at least make sure that you've got a screen lock, so you have to have a password to unlock it, and then that would then mean that your SSH keys are safe. So hopefully this video has been useful to anyone who might want to set something like this up, and I'll try and get some more videos out in things related to this and other things that I'm trying to work on at the moment as well. Okay, see you.